Welcome everyone to Pontus Fathom Press. I want to just go through some Cthulhu books that I've gotten, some of the Cthulhu books we publish, and just kind of do a quick recap of some fun Cthulhu-based Lovecraftian books in the library here, and some things that are out there available from Pontus Fathom Press. So starting out with my edition that I've got, I always resist buying other editions since I got this one. And I think I've given away many of my paperback Lovecraft. So I went through the shelves. I think I only have this a complete and unabridged edition of Lovecraft's fiction. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble years ago. And it's a nice paperback with all the classics of Lovecraft here, right? So we've got in the table of contents, The Alchemist, Dagon, Polaris, The Wall of Sleep, Beyond the Wall of Sleep, Memory, The White Ship, The Doom That Came to Sarnath, The Statement of Randolph Carter, right? The Cats of Ulthar, The Temple, Celiphaeus, Nyarlathotep, From Beyond. To name a few, The Nameless City, The Moonbog, The Outer Gods, Hypnos, Herbert West, Reanimator, The Music of Eric Zahn, Azathoth, The Hound, The Lurking Fear, The Unnameable, Under the Pyramids, The Shunned House, The Horror at Red Hook. Wow, these are all great. You go through this list and you realize you've read a lot of fun and weird fiction in the horror realms of this. I just want to keep going because The Silver Key, Pickman's Model, Call of Cthulhu, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, Case of Charles Dexter Ward, The Color Out of Space, The History of the Necronomicon. We've talked about that in our podcast series. Dunwich Horror, Whisper in the Darkness, At the Mountains of Madness, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Dreams of the Witch House, Through the Gate of the Silver Key. It seeks the gate and the key. The Thing on the Doorstep, The Shadow Out of Time, The Hunter in the Dark. Right? Classic. I've worn this one out. It's fully footnoted, bookmarked. Another great one that I have, I don't have the Encyclopedia Cthulhu Ania, but I do have, this is the second edition of this that I've owned. I used to like the other one better. This is this sort of odd format, but Wiser Press, Daniel Harms and John Wisdom Nance III's The Truth Behind the Legend, The Necronomicon Files. This is a fun book. It's got pop culture and occult. Everything from pop culture to occult. We've talked about it a bit before, but it's kind of like a debunking of the various Necronomicons out there. But at the same time, it's quite interesting to link it up to things like Crowley and some other components. And also grounds things in Lovecraft's, what Lovecraft knew about, what Lovecraft was writing about. So quite fun. These two are great from Scott R. Jones and Company, Martian Migraine Press. Shout out to Martian Migraine Press. I thought that these were so fun. Like Cthulhu Sattva, this has just got a great collection of short stories. The Three Kings as a Cthulhu story. It's just too much, right? They're all real clever, great collection of writer stories. I've made it through about a half dozen of them, but I don't want to read them all. I feel like when I need a Cthulhu story, I can pop this book open. And, I really am enjoying these slowly, taking them slowly. In a similar vein, and similar to books that we've published here, we have our Pontus Fathom Press has Genealogy of Cthulhu, Archaeology of Yog-Sothoth, and Necromancy of Nyarlathotep, Alchemy of Azathoth, The Hermeticism of Hastur, and the Psychoanalysis of Rillier. All of these are kind of blurring the line between horror, nonfiction, and just these intersection points. I think When the Stars Are Right is similar in vein, although Scott Jones definitely is got a great sense of humor and embraces the pop culture side of things. But I'm also working my way through this one in the sense that I also don't want to finish it. I think it's so fun to open up a chapter, making your way through it. If you look at the table of contents here, some great concepts. So, saying the deadly light, examining the great old ones, the prolonged life, meditations on Yog Sothoth, telling the audient void, the voice of Nyarlathotep, the conquering world, parsing Shub-Niggurath, the certain sort of men, Dagon and the deep one aesthetic, on Cthulhu, the Cthulhu Sattva vow, the Black Gnosis. We've done a podcast on the Black Gnosis, definitely inspired by the Martian Migraine Press works. So shout out to those guys. Okay, then more on a scholarly level. It's the only St. Jossi thing I've got, but it's just letters between H.P. Lovecraft and August Derleth, 1926, 1931. These are fantastic insights to Lovecraft's process, Derleth's and Lovecraft's relationship. Again, something that you can spend lots of time coming up with small details. I particularly liked when they shared books that they've read or articles or stories that they shared with each other, and this sort of enthusiasm through their correspondence. Quite fun to read and quite grounded, less in the metaphysics of, the world of Lovecraftian cosmic horror, and more grounded in the writerly craft. So I think when one is interested in a writer, one can take it in so many directions. And I think this is a great grounding. This is just pure letters, where this is sort of journalism. This is kind of like a journalism and a research volume. And these are more like, obviously, short stories, but then speculation on, is there some Rillian spirituality out there? And again, these echo things like our psychoanalysis of Rillier fits in this same category. We start looking at texts and understanding things from a philosophical, perhaps, point of view. Finally, I've got this fun, quirky volume called the Necronomicon Gnosis. And it's a book, a very well put together book, of different Lovecraftian magical system that's been put together from various sources. I don't have here the Simon Necronomicon, but maybe that's a book that I'll eventually pick up. I mean, I kind of just like the journalistic research approach of all you really need to know. But I think that this book has definitely made a ritualized kind of Lovecraftian magic. And I think it's quite well done. I mean, if you read through it, it's quite fun. And in some ways, it'd be great for, on our other channel, Pontus Fathom Hobbies, we play through lots of Cthulhu-based games like Eldritch Horror, Cthulhu Death May Die, Cthulhu Wars. So I think that this is the kind of stuff that really can get you thinking in an alternate spirituality. It's some Gnosticism. In a way, even our podcast that we've done here in our Pontus Fathom podcast, we talk about the overlap between things like anthroposophy, theosophy, Gnosticism, and Lovecraft's sort of Cthulhu mythos, extended Cthulhu mythos, and how they are kind of they kind of do mirror in lots of ways some Gnostic thinking. So I think Necronomicon Gnosis taps into this idea about, the world is not what it seems. There's something horrible out there. I mean, we have in a quick shout out to Rudolf Steiner, right? Steiner's knowledge of higher worlds. He's got this small quote. It's called Changes in Dream Life, 124. And he mentions something that I feel is, Lovecraft inspired by dreams. It says, an intimation that the pupil has reached or will soon reach the stage of development described in the preceding chapter, which would be changes that take place in his dream life. His dreams, hitherto confused and haphazard, now assume a more regular character. Their pictures begin to arrange themselves in an orderly way. The pupil can discern in them law, cause and effect. The content of the dreams also change. For instance, you may dream that you have caught some horrible creature and feel an unpleasant sensation in your hand, and on waking you discover that you're squeezing the corner of the bedspread. So this weird dream life versus the living life, I think something gets tapped into that here. We've done this in other videos, but for example, in our genealogy of Cthulhu, we also talk about the idea of, how Lovecraft's influence is sort of grounded in things like Dagon of the Bible, things like Atlantis sinking. When we talk about the psychoanalysis of Rillier, it's talking about that concept that Atlantis sunk, Rillier sunk, Cthulhu's dreaming below the water, what lies beneath the unconscious. We can get into some of that, even that dread discovery of the cosmic horror in, the cautionary tales of the Yog-Sothothery of our theology of Yog-Sothoth, in the sense that we're really on the edge of madness. I think that film, The Color Out of Space, really shows like this color that comes, and it's not conducive to the human mind. And Lovecraft often talks about this, that the mind cannot correlate its contents, right? And then going further of that, we have a recent video we put out on necromancy of Nyarlathotep. Again, disclosures from the Necronomicon fragment, the nature of Azathoth at the heart of the universe as alchemy, and the nature of Hastur and the yellow sign in a philosophical way as well. So yeah, just wanted to share all of these with you. I'm having lots of fun making my way through these letters, making my way through the short stories of Cthulhu Sattva. Great cover art here. Guys, leave comments below. What Cthulhu books or related to the Cthulhu mythos have you read? What other books would you like to see us talk about? Would you like to have us do a deep dive or some readings from these? Leave a comment below. Check out our links. We've got a Patreon below. Like I mentioned, we are doing Cthulhu-based gameplay on our other channel. If you're interested in that, we have a weekly podcast here on this channel. And looking forward to starting the conversation. I'd like to get to a big enough crowd so I can start doing some live streams and have some participation with you guys. So starting out with the comments is a great way to start. Sharing this video with others and liking and subscribing and ringing the bell helps the YouTube algorithm find these videos. So if you're interested in these topics and us doing some more deep dives in it, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for making it this far and appreciate your watching. Bye-bye.